Hi, my name's Hugo Loudon. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Holiday Extras.
Oh, brilliant. So it's Sunshine Saturday tomorrow. What can you tell me about what that is for anybody who doesn't know?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's Sunshine Saturday tomorrow. What that effectively in the travel industry is it's the day when we normally see and fully expect tomorrow to see the highest booking day of the year. It's the first Saturday of the new year. People are back from Christmas, looking ahead to their summer break. And obviously the last 3 years, the last 3 years that hasn't been the case with the pandemic that's impacted the travel industry. But this is the first time in that 3 year period where, as I say, we can look forward and book with confidence, given the more stable COVID situation, and the far more resilient sort of state of affairs across the whole travel industry. So I mean, at Holiday Extras, we've even the first few days of January, we've actually seen our booking numbers up 11% on the equivalent days in 2019. So we're already seeing that sort of pent up demand come back to a higher extent than what we saw pre-pandemic. So we're very hopeful and optimistic for tomorrow.
So people are quite feeling a little bit more comfortable of booking things then, and less worried about cancellations. Is that what you're saying?
No, you're absolutely right. I think as a sector, we're even more resilient post the pandemic. People can book forward with confidence. I think in terms of the airports themselves, they're far better equipped to deal with the numbers that we're expecting to see flying this year. Yes, we've had strikes across rail and border force, but again, I think the Army did a fantastic job of sort of mitigating any impact to airports over the Christmas or New Year period. And therefore, I think any sort of disruption that may come across this year, we don't expect that to impact flights leaving, and therefore any cancellation. So, yeah, I think airports are really well staffed now. We did see a massive sort of pent up demand last summer, as well as some sort of staff issues. But I think actually this year the airports are really well equipped to deal with, again, what we expect to be a really strong travel rebound this year.
So it's all looking a lot more reliable then. Are you seeing anything about where people are heading particularly? Has there been a change in that, or are they sort of heading to those holiday destinations that they would have been pre-pandemic and just going back into sort of old habits, I guess?
Yeah, I think we still expect people to go overseas. I mean, what we may see is people go for more sort of mid short haul destinations than the sort of longer haul. I mean, typically what we see and what the industry sees is the likes of Spain, Greece, Italy, France are always super popular, and the States. And I suspect they'll be very popular again. I mean, one thing we may see, obviously, the cost of living crisis is impacting all of us. But whilst we're equally as keen to get away, what we may see is actually some travelers swapping the more traditional, maybe slightly more expensive destinations for some places actually where your money may go a little bit further, but you can still have that great experience overseas.
So the volume of travellers is back up to pre-pandemic, but they might not necessarily be treating it the same sort of way, I suppose, like you say, with the cost of living and all of that. But otherwise, what else are you seeing from people looking to travel this year? Any other changes, or just like you say, going back to what they knew before COVID?
Yeah, I think going back to what they knew before COVID, actually even to a great extent, some research the Holiday Extras did last year indicated actually that not only were people looking to travel to a great extent than what they did, but actually go on more than one holiday. Actually, what we're seeing is based on the research that people are looking to go away, 2, 3, 4 times this year, rather than whereas the norm pre-COVID was one. So I think there is demand. I think there's a demand for more experiences overseas. I think we all missed that during the pandemic. And having those special experiences is very valuable to people. I mean, what we've also saw in that research Holiday Extras did was that people would sooner cut their household expenses than their overseas experience. So actually, yes, the cost of living is with us, but I think people look to other ways to make ends meet at home while still enabling them to go away.
Oh wow! So sort of trying to protect the funds for their holidays and making sure they're still able to go on those. I suppose that you miss something when it's taken away, like it was with the pandemic and lockdowns and all the restrictions that followed.
No, I think you're absolutely right, and I think another trend we have already seen, and I think we'll see in the next few days and certainly months ahead, is people booking that much more further in advance. I think what we saw last summer was there was a massive surge of demand, And actually, in some places, the supply couldn't cater for that, and actually places become very booked out early. So I think the message I would say to people looking to book a holiday is book early. That means you'll get the destination, the hotel, the flight you want, and therefore you don't run the risk of that being potentially booked up. It also will save you money. I mean, good example last year at Holiday Extras, where we offer customers the best range of price of car parking at airports as one example of the things we do. We actually saved our customers around £100 per sort of parking trip by booking in advance. Versus if they'd turned up at the airport and paid at the gate. So that's just one small example in Holiday Extras, where by booking in advance, you can reduce the cost of your holiday, and therefore you kind of know what you're spending well in advance of it.
So like I say, there are ways to sort of manage finances to make it for quite a few people still viable to go on a holiday. With cost of living, I know you're saying it's, there are ways to budget and to be very practical and make sure that you're spending on holiday in a way that suits you. Did this come as a surprise, the fact that these figures are expected to go up tomorrow and that you've seen like a really big interest and this bounce back? Because I know there was quite a lot of concern that maybe there wouldn't be, like say, airport queues and issues last year on top of restrictions. Did this bounce back surprise you, or was it sort of expected?
No, I mean, I think it hasn't surprised me. I think after what we saw happen last year when restrictions were lifted, sort of last February, really, there was a massive sort of pent-up demand over the previous 2 years where we couldn't travel. We saw that come back last year. And all the sort of forward booking data we saw and our partners saw in the industry for 2023 was that bookings would be up on the equivalent point pre-COVID. So I think actually it's not a surprise. I think the inability to travel during the pandemic has just kind of made it even more important for people to get away. And the point you rightly make around the cost of living crisis, I think people will look at things like all-inclusive holidays, look at the best deals this time of year. I think look at flexible booking policies as well. I think travel agents and at Holiday Extras, we have something called Flextras, where customers can cancel up to the point of departure for free. And I think that's that's a kind of hygiene factor now for travelers, to have that ability to be flexible and agile in your holiday. I think the other I touched on earlier around the sort of cheaper destinations. One of the things that we saw last summer was that somewhere like Turkey became much more popular. Versus, say, the more traditional Mediterranean destinations, as the pound is actually stronger against the Turkish lira, your money will go further, and you'll still have the great benefits of that holiday gives. I think another sort of destination I expect to see come back or have growing demand this year is someone like Senegal, which is actually only sort of 30 minutes further than, say, Canaries or Balearics you may have traditionally gone to. Senegal's 30 minutes further. Again, the pound is that much stronger against the local currency, which is the franc out there. And you get many of the same benefits you would experience from that Mediterranean holiday. So I think there are lots of things people are doing, but I'm not surprised that people are just desperate to get away and have that special experience overseas.